Hey guys, for this video, we're going to do a gray blending, and this is going to be the truth about gray blending. I'm going to show you all the good and the bad. Okay, hey you guys, I know I haven't been on camera in a long time. It's literally the middle of summer and dripping sweat, so if I'm not wearing any makeup, which I usually don't wear a lot anyways, that's the reason why, because there's nothing more disgusting than having makeup on and being all like wiping your face. Okay, so the client that I'm working on right now, she would normally cover her natural color, but we're letting her natural color grow out. She has some actually her silver that's coming in is really, really pretty, but she wants some highlights. And last time we did her service, we did it just like a few little pieces to see like, okay, you have a lot of dark color on your hair. It's gonna turn really caramely. Is that gonna drive you crazy? So we did her service last time to be really subtle and see how does the way that the toner fades out, does it drive her crazy? Is she unhappy with it? Luckily she's a hairstylist, so she can just go to the beauty supply and like tone it herself. So sorry. I feel like a dumbass.
Did I totally disregard it?
No, it's okay.
Okay, I'll wash my hands and then
No, you're fine. You're fine. ADD, what was I even talking about? Oh, okay. So for her service today, we're going to just go through and try and do a heavier amount now that she's had it and seen what it looks like. And then also she wants to add a little bit of brightness like around her face and stuff. So we're gonna do that too. And then do just some really fine weaves on top of her hair now. And then hopefully we'll get it a little bit lighter than a caramely tone. And then now I'm confused and don't know what I'm talking about. So I'm just gonna do the service and talk to you later. Goodbye. For this service, I'm going to be using Schwarzkopf Blonde Me with 20 volume and Olaplex. Okay, so here's my client's before, and you'll see through the ends that this is those little pieces that we did kind of as little tester strands to see what would her hair lighten to, would she be happy to what it lightened to when the toner fades out. So those are those leftover pieces. I decided that we could probably start going through her hair and doing some finer little highlights. She decided that she did want to be a little bit brighter around the face, and so these are what we're going to be doing right now. These strands that I'm doing are really honestly super fine strands of hair. I wouldn't even call this a full weave. Like, this is probably even less than a baby light, which if you don't know what the term baby light is, say you have your old school slice and weave. A baby light is essentially like much more finer than a standard weave. And then what I'm doing is what the term some people say is like strand lights, where you're basically just picking up little fine strands of hair and weaving those, and that's your sectioning versus like a full weave. The purpose for doing such fine strands of hair is because you can get a better lift, and usually you can get a little bit lighter. If you have too thick and chunky of a section that you're trying to foil, then that's where you can get caught up in levels 7 and 8 and not push through the warmth. So when you're doing gray conversions or blending grays or whatever, always do the finest weave that you can. And also that will look a little bit more natural, because when people are starting to gray, usually it's just like a few pieces here and there. So doing fine little strands of highlights will help blend a little bit better than going in too heavy-handed. You'll notice these back weaves that I'm doing behind her hairline, a few foils in, are a little bit more of a standard weave just because I want to try to break through some more of that color and brighten her up a little bit more. She wanted to be brighter around the face, but I didn't want to do it too heavy directly on her hairline because I was wanting to follow her natural gray growth pattern. And so these back foils, I'm starting to add a little bit thicker of more of like a standard weave to brighten her up a little bit more. I'm trying to hold her hair out so you can see the previous color that we had done. Again, it was really fine, and we honestly couldn't get too light of a lift. We maybe got to a level 7. So today we're definitely trying to get a little bit brighter to get closer to what her natural color is. When you're doing a gray blending service, I usually recommend doing like a really fine blended foil beforehand, like almost like a balayage color, because what's going to happen is, like, my client hasn't colored her hair for a few months, and so her roots are going to lighten really nicely, but then the ends of her hair are probably going to be much warmer. And so when clients are transitioning into gray, for quite a while, sometimes they're stuck with that warmth through their ends, and it can really throw them off with being happy with their color, which you'll see further on in the video. You'll see her honest reaction to the color, because when you see such a tonal difference in the color where her roots are really cool, but then the ends of her hair are really warm, it's kind of hard to like connect the two because they're like so opposite on the like color chart. And so when coming in for a service like this, first, because her hair was so dark, I wanted to see how light could we honestly get her hair. And so that was the intention of doing the strand test. Really quickly, I'm just going to throw in some foils around her hairline, and I'm trying to blend with her natural color where she's a little bit heavier in her gray up on her forehead. So in here, I'm going to be doing a little bit heavier of a weave, not necessarily like super fine baby lights, because she has a little bit stronger of her silver color in this area. Okay, back to what I was talking about. ADD, let me try to find it. Oh yeah, okay. So I like to do a strand test first for the first service, and maybe just pop in like 2 foils on either side of their head, 1 in the back, just to see how the color is. Because if you go and do a full service of, oh my gosh, my cats are running across the floor. If you guys hear like little pitter patters, it's my cats being loud, and I'm in the middle of a record, and my son is sniffling. A cat. Oh my gosh. Sorry. So do these foils because it would be good for, I can't. I need to go get my cat. Okay, I'm back, and I cannot guarantee that this might not be chaotic for the rest of the video because my cats are going crazy right now. And so I'm just fair warning. I'm letting you know that chaos may ensue. Okay, so this is why I go through and do strand test foils for the very first service. Can't remember if I already mentioned it or not. I'm so like frazzled right now. But so 2 foils on either side of the head, maybe like 1 or 2 in the very back, just so they can see what the hair lightens to. And the reason for that is because imagine that you go for a full gray transformation, and basically you bleach through, color remove through all of that buildup of color that's on their hair, and 6 weeks later, however many weeks later, now the whole bottom half of their hair is brassy because the toner faded. So I always like to have my clients come in for, if they have color buildup and it's dark color and it's going to be orange and brassy, because that's like the one thing nobody wants, brassy orange hair. And I have them come in for a smaller service first to see how do you feel when the toner fades out. If we went through and did like a heavy hand, a heavy all over foil, and the toner fades and this is what you're left with, are you going to hate your hair? Are you going to be unhappy to have all this brassiness and warmth? Generally, they always say, I would hate it. So that's why I think it's good for them to see exactly what their hair is going to lighten to, because this is something that it's not like it's not my capability that I can't lift through this. This is generally like not this client necessarily, but clients that color their hair darker and then they overlap it time after time after time and then they run it through the ends, like for years worth of running it through the ends. They just have so much color buildup that you can't break through it very easily. And so I think it's good for them to see what their hair is going to fade to, because imagine that you go through and do a full foil, like a full gray conversion, and then 6 weeks later, all their toner is faded out. They're coming in for a lower maintenance service. And then essentially what's going to happen is they're almost going to have a higher maintenance color now, because they're going to have to come in every so often to get their toner done, which they're going to be miserable with, because it's so warm and brassy. Chances are they're probably going to just color their hair dark again. So I like to have my clients come in and do this service first and see how they feel about the brassiness when it fades to brassy. Or maybe we can do this in a few different steps at a time, because again, I would hate to go in heavy-handed, do the full thing, unless I know for sure that their hair can lift through it and it would lighten nicely. And then they're just going to be left with a lot of warmth and then be mad at me because now their hair is like, they have to come to the salon even more to tone it down than what they were doing previously. So if you're doing a service like this on a client, or if a client wants to, make sure you tell them and get it in writing and a signature and all these things. Let them know your hair, if your hair is dark and you have color buildup, your hair will, like 99% is going to lift to a caramel, like a brassy caramel 7, 8. And just tell them this is a part of the process, and that potentially maybe they're not going to be 100% happy with their hair as you're doing this service, because if I know that this is a really expensive service, and if somebody's not willing to pay for a full day and a half, 2 days worth at the salon to get their hair done, which could be, hundreds of thousands, however much money, how much you charge, then they just have to know, like, maybe you're not going to be 100% happy with your hair while we're doing these services and working on blending your hair, because you're going to have these like different tones of like the coolness up at your root, but then you're going to have the warmth through the ends. So I cannot like express this enough. Make sure you let your clients know. Just be upfront and honest with them. Like, this is a part of the process. You have a lot of warmth buildup that we're dealing with. It's going to be hard to tone this out because you want to keep your natural color, the silvery color, up in your roots, but then your ends are going to be warm. And we don't want to tone your roots warm to get an even color, because then eventually you're just going to have to go through and relighten through those tones that you did. And then, it's just like all this mess. So just let them know ahead of time. There might be a few like services, the first few services, where you're not exactly happy with your hair until we're really able to knock through some of that brassy color. Okay. I haven't been paying attention to the video, so I don't know what we've missed. But basically, I've just been going through and backcombing, weaving her hair, because we're just trying to not lighten up a whole bunch, but just break up through her roots a little bit more. She wanted some softer dimension, and I want to do something that will help blend with her natural like strands of gray that she has. So going through and doing like a back comb will just give her some little strands that you're lightening through at the root, but then it will kind of get a little bit brighter through the ends and break through more of that color. So that is what we're doing for the rest of this foil. And my intention is to try and just get the same strands of hair that we went through last time. I don't want to like break through too much more of the color that she has, because then that's just going to expose more warmth. So I'm trying as hard as I can to like find the same pattern and the same weaves that I had previously to lighten through those, to try and get them a little bit brighter than what we were able to last time. Another thing with your application, make sure that you are applying a very thick amount of bleach to every section. You want to make sure that you are coating the hair with extremely thick bleach, because it won't get enough lift if you do like, I see some people and they just like barely like paint bleach onto the hair. And then sometimes that's why you only lift like a level 7 or 8. Make sure that you're really coating the hair with bleach. It should be really, really thick, kind of like toothpaste. That way, you know, you're getting good saturation, which in the end will get you a better lift. A few people have commented why I don't section the hair or put them in their quadrants. And I will pull the hair up when I'm foiling, and I'll like section aside some of the hair. But I generally don't like to go through and do like my 4 quadrants, because then I feel like that kind of puts you in a box. You're only able to work within these sections. You can't move around the head as naturally as you might want to. So you'll notice that basically every time that I'm done with her hair, I'll kind of throw her hair back down to how it lays naturally, where she parts her hair, even if it's not in a straight part, even if it's kind of like a little, you know, sideways of a section, but that's because that's how her hair lays. And so I want to make sure that I'm grabbing the hair exactly how it lays and where it's going to fall, because we're not going in too heavy right now. And if you section the hair and you grab the hair from the wrong area, then all the color might fall on one side of the part and not evenly distributed. So that's why you see me every so often like pull her hair back down into how it naturally lays, so I can see exactly where I'm going and what type of foil and what sectioning of hair I want to grab. As we get to these very top foils, basically right on her part, I'm gonna be doing even finer of foils, because I want these to just be like little pieces, little strands of hair that blend really nicely with her natural. I don't want to even be able to see a standard weave. I don't want to see lines in the hair, because then that's not going to blend as greatly with her natural. It's just going to look like somebody put like standard foils in her hair. So my intention is to blend with her hair as naturally as possible. So sometimes like doing an irregular weave or doing like the thinnest foils, slices, whatever, sometimes that will get you like the best end result because it will look a lot more natural than I know people have said those framer foils, the foiling combs or whatever the combs are, where they kind of, you lay the hair on top of it and then the other hair falls through, and then you lift the hair up and then it has your weave made for you. Sometimes those are so precise that it looks too unnatural for a service like this anyways. And so I you can use that for this service. I don't know that I would, because then it might look too highlighty instead of trying to look more blended with their natural color. So now that we're in the back of her head, we're just going to finish off by throwing a few more foils in the back just to break up this area. And then after that, I'm going to go through and find the previous hair that we had painted through the ends to try to lighten up the ends a little bit more. I'm not trying to grab any of the color that we haven't lightened through already. I want to try to find the previous like caramely tones that we've already lightened up, to see if we can get past that warmth a little bit more. And she's used to being very dark for a long time. And man, let me tell you, in my good old days, I used to love having my hair really dark. So like the darker the better is kind of how I felt. And so I know that if we get her too light, she's going to feel like she's blonde, even though she's nowhere near being blonde. That's what she's gonna feel like, that it's too light. So I don't want to go in her hair like too heavy. I want to make sure that we're still maintaining a lot of the dark color that she has and leave her some dimension. So there's just one or two foils that I went through and painted through the ends. You can see them kind of dropping down below. And I let her hair process for probably like 35-40 minutes. And you can see here as I'm pulling the foils out that she had good lift through her roots. It's still kind of warm from that previous color. And then her ends are kind of at a level 7 or 8. Okay, so my client is done processing, and her roots are pretty much like a level 9, and then the ends are kind of at like a level 8. And we kind of just have a conversation of how does she want to tone her hair. Does she absolutely not want there to be any warmth? Because if so, then we can tone it down with like a true ashy tone, but then she might not see a lot of the highlights that we did, because if you tone on level, like if she's a level 9 and we do like a 9A or 9-1 to like cancel out the warmth, then all that's gonna do is make it like a neutral level 9. But if she wants to truly blend with her gray and be like a cooler, ashier tone, then we have to go down like a shade and a half to be like an 8-1, or like maybe like an 8-1 with like a teeny little drop of like a 7-1 to really truly get rid of any warmth in their hair. And so I told her that. I showed her a video. Now that it's fall time, I've had a handful of clients wanting to come in and tone back down for fall, either doing like super cool or just slightly ashier colors. And I want to show you guys something that you need to be aware of when you come in wanting to tone down, especially doing some cooler tones, is how much that cooler tone can blend with your hair and kind of cause it to eliminate all the work that you just did. And let me show you what I'm talking about. My client had some color that we were trying to lift through, and if she wanted to stay warmer or more neutral, then you definitely would have seen the highlights show through a lot more. She probably would have had a lot of caramel tones in her hair, but because we're toning down with an ashier tone, ashy colors appear darker. So you can see here at the end that, yeah, she was a lot ashier, but that ashy tone really blends with her natural color. And this is sometimes where clients feel underwhelmed with their hair because they're not seeing that big of a change as if they were to stay a little bit warmer. Here's the formulation that I use to tone her hair, and easy on that 721. That can go way ashy if you're not careful. Like, obviously, like, the warmer tones are brighter and it stands out a little bit more, but if you want to have, like, if you truly don't want any warmth in your hair, just know that you might not see a lot of the highlights that we just did, because it's going to appear a lot darker and it's not going to be, like, as bold. And so, I don't have a client after her, so what we're gonna do is first tone her hair just a neutral level 9. I'll probably put like some ash in it just to try to control the warmth in it. And then if she's not happy with the warmth that it leaves her, then we'll go back through and retone her like the ashier tone. So that's what we're going to do now. So to do this first toner, I'm gonna go through with Agora Vibrance because I feel like it does a really good job with the ash to like combat warmth. So I'm gonna go through and do 9-0 and then 8-19, which is like an ash violet. Just like a teeny little bit of that to try to tone down, like neutralize the warmth a little bit more. Here you can see that it's controlling the warmth, but it's definitely still a little bit on the warmer side. And we're just gonna do a rough dry really quickly to see, is she okay with the color, or does she want me to go back through and tone out the warmth completely? And I'm kind of letting her look to make that decision right now.
Does it look like it's like, I don't know. I don't really know. I don't know.
Well, you're probably noticing that it's brighter and cooler up here and then warmer here.
Yeah.
So because of that, you're feeling like since it's not an even tone.
Yeah.
You're feeling like it doesn't look like it's finished.
Yes.
So then, do you want?
Do you have a brush?
I don't use brushes.
Okay.
So I don't have the tone. Sorry.
That's all right. I'm gonna have to.
No, you're fine.
I was nervous about doing around the face because of the old color in it, but that's what it is.
Like, how do you?
Because I just wanted it to look even, you know.
Yeah.
But I think the color, it just looks more gray. I mean, to me, but.
Well, because we did like half neutral, half ash. So like your roots are gonna be cooler, and it's gonna like soften the ends.
That's fine. Let's just go with it and see. If I can't take it, I'll go get something to put on it.
But do you want me to do an all over toner that warms up your roots to blend with the rest of the hair? I could do like an 8N.
And just not touch, will it match the ends? I just don't want it to look like I have all different colors in my root and then my end. But I don't think it's gonna do that. I mean, you have to be happy with it too. Because
no, it's your hair, so whatever truly you want to do. I kind of feel like when you're trying to blend with your natural hair, if you have a little bit like of some silvery pieces, and then you have old color that you're trying to lift through, it's like you kind of have to go through this transition stage where you just have to deal with it. Because if we color this warm, then eventually we're just lifting through this again to match your natural.
Let's just go with it and just be okay with it.
Are you sure?
Yep.
I know that there's times, I had a client before where I was like, it might take a while where you're just like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know? And then...
I don't think it looks bad.
No,
So let's just fix it and dry it and see how it goes.
Okay.
You also have to be happy with it because I'm walking out of your shop.
No, but I can see, like, turn here again. Like, I think that we got some lighter
We did.
pieces.
Yeah.
So, like, I think we lightened it good without damage, and that makes me happy.
Yeah.
Like, that's good
Yeah.
for me.
Because I like my gray.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's a pretty color.
Yeah.
And I think we did a good job of really blending it in here.
Yeah.
It's just, if this
Getting
was.
through this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I just wanted to share that honest conversation with you guys because I think it's important to hear that, like, it is okay for clients not to be, especially when it's a service like this, a color correction or a gray blending, that they're not 100% of the time going to be 100% happy with their hair. And I think it's important for you guys to see this and hear how you can navigate the conversation to just let them know, like, sometimes this is just a part of the process. We have to, like, we can blend it so that it all looks good, but then we're going to have to warm up the root of your hair when you're trying to blend your hair with your gray. So, yeah, I just wanted to share that and hope you guys can, like, get something from that, because you don't have to panic when your clients aren't happy as long as you let them know ahead of time. Like, and sometimes you can share with them and let them know that stuff like this might come about in the service, but until they see it on them physically, it doesn't click, and then they're kind of like, oh my gosh, it doesn't blend. And I'm not saying that's what happened with this client. I'm just saying that has happened with other clients where I've informed them, this is what I think is going to happen. And then they're like, oh no, I think it's fine. And then when it happens, they're like, oh my gosh, and kind of have a freak out about it. So just make sure you're having the conversation with your client, and you should be fine. And hopefully they're understanding. Make sure they're understanding before you tackle the service. So here is the end result of my client. You can see that in the root area. I'm really happy with the way that the color turned out in the root area. I think it blends really nicely and really pretty with her natural color. This is the before, and here's the after. I think we just did a good job of those little strands. There is a little bit of warmth still in some of the root area, but for the most part, I think it blends really pretty with her natural silver that she has. So in the meantime, we're just going to continue trying to lighten through the ends of the hair. Sometimes that just means we're going to keep cutting the ends off and not grow the hair out long until we get rid of that old color. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys learned something. Like, this lighting is so good. That looks, you can't tell me that's not her natural gray. Like, that looks so good, and it blends so perfectly with her natural. It's just getting through this whole process until the ends match up with the top. So thanks for watching. I hope you guys like this video. Don't forget to subscribe, and you can follow me on Instagram at Modern Blonde by Christy.